There hasn't been a better time in history to be a roller coaster fan than in the present. Technological advances have improved roller coasters in almost every way possible. In today's video, I'll be taking a journey through time, providing you my favorite roller coasters from each decade. This topic will be split up into two parts. First, I will discuss my favorite wooden roller coasters, and next week, steel. This video will be slightly longer since we can go farther back in time with wooden roller coasters than steel. In fact, we will be starting at the turn of the century, 20th century that is. (1900 to 1909). Leap the Dips, opened in 1902, located at Lakemont Park in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Starting off with the oldest roller coaster known in operation, Leap the Dips at Lakemont Park is a side friction roller coaster. With a height of 41 feet, max speed of 10 miles per hour, and a total track length of 1,452 feet, Leap the Dips doesn't have stats that will wow you. However, just because it's a smaller, slower roller coaster doesn't mean that it's boring. Leap the Dips is actually a really fun time. A couple friends and I rode this roller coaster multiple times back in 2010 and had a blast doing so the entire time. Lakemont Park just finished another major renovation of this roller coaster and should be operational the next time you visit the park. 1910 to 1919, Wild One, opened in 1986, located at Six Flags America outside of Washington, D.C. This was the toughest decade for me to come up with a roller coaster because this is the only wooden coaster in North America that is still in operation that came from this decade. Originally located at Paragon Park in Massachusetts, the ride opened in 1917. Technically, this ride is partially from that decade because in 1932, the roller coaster was redesigned after suffering a massive fire. The ride boasts some impressive stats with 4,000 feet of track, standing 98 feet tall and reaching a max speed of 53 miles an hour. It has been challenging to find records of the ride's original stats, but from what I could gather, the height has always remained true at 98 feet, making it the tallest roller coaster in the world when it opened. 1920 to 1929, Jack Rabbit, opened in 1920, located at Kennywood in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. The ride that started the trend. Jack Rabbit is a simple wooden roller coaster that follows a very familiar pattern, but with one small twist. The ride is built inside a valley. The roller coaster has a max height of 40 feet, but still pulls off a 70-foot plunge. The tallest, uninterrupted drop is the ride's last drop before the brakes. Jack Rabbit's signature element is the double down. For its time, this had to be one of the most intense moments of airtime coming from a roller coaster in the 1920s. Using only a simple seatbelt, riders will feel more exposed as they traverse Jack Rabbit's 2,100 feet of track. It's amazing that Kennywood has been able to keep this century-old attraction operating in tip-top shape and hopefully keep it running for many more years to come. 1930 to 1939, Blue Streak, opened in 1938, located at Conneaut Lake Park in Conneaut Lake, Pennsylvania. By now, you might be picking up on a trend of Pennsylvania coasters. While the state features a hefty collection of wooden coasters, some of the oldest wooden coasters in operation. One of those wooden coasters that seems to be forgotten amongst the crowd is Blue Streak. This classic out-and-back wooden coaster will give off the impression that it's ready to collapse at any given moment. The ride dives through the forest, looking as if it's become one with the trees around it. Blue Streak is a roller coaster that took me by surprise. It's rough but loaded with airtime. Not to mention how the roller coaster gives off a vibe that it could crash at any moment. From what I hear, the park has been putting in a lot of work in these past couple years to really revitalize this woody. Honestly, I can't wait to revisit this park and give this classic coaster another go. 1940 to 1949, Phoenix, opened in 1985, located at Knoebels in Elysburg, Pennsylvania. Originally located at Playbook Park, where this roller coaster operated from 1948 to 1980, Phoenix was meticulously torn down and relocated to Knoebels, where it currently operates to this day. The ride is well known for its ample amount of airtime. The roller coaster only uses buzzer bars, meaning that you'll be flying out of your seat for practically the entire course of its 3,200 feet of track. The final run back to the station is where you'll experience some of the best airtime that this ride has to offer. Phoenix has been a well-loved attraction in the coaster community for many years, earning the best wooden coaster title multiple times. 1950 to 1959. Comet. Opened in 1951, located at Waldameer in Erie, Pennsylvania. I felt like a family wooden coaster needed to be featured on this list, and I couldn't think of a better choice than Comet. Featuring a simple figure-8 layout, Comet demonstrates that a roller coaster can still be enjoyable without feeling like a crazy, out-of-control machine. The ride stats aren't that impressive, even for its time, but that really doesn't matter because this ride is geared towards families and younger ones. 1960 to 1969. Thunderbolt. Opened in 1968, located at Kennywood in West Mifflin, Pennsylvania. Wow, what a roller coaster with a history. Originally called the Pippin, this wooden roller coaster has been technically operating since 1924. In the late 60s, the ride was completely transformed, adding on the giant helix section of the roller coaster. Some may argue that this roller coaster is really from the 20s, but I believe that the major additions transformed this roller coaster into something completely new, thus it's renamed a Thunderbolt. Just like Jackrabbit, Thunderbolt uses a ravine to play with the ride's height and max drop. Also, just like Jackrabbit, the final drop of the ride is the tallest drop and where the roller coaster will hit its max speed. Because of the high laterals experienced during the low-to-the-ground turns, Thunderbolt requires that you ride with a partner. So, unfortunately, you won't be getting a Zen ride on this coaster. 1970 to 1979. The Beast. Opened in 1979, located at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. One of the most monumental coasters to be featured on this list, Beast was not only a massive roller coaster for its time, but still remains the longest roller coaster in North America to this day. Another impressive feat is knowing that this roller coaster was built completely in-house. The ride is split into two sections. The first part of the ride sends riders on an epic journey out through the forest behind the park. The second half of the ride is basically a giant helix. This is the most intense part of the ride and possibly one of the most intense moments on any wooden roller coaster. 1980 to 1989. Grizzly. Opened in 1982, located at Kings Dominion in Doswell, Virginia. Opening in response to the Beast, Grizzly is a smaller, less exciting version of that classic wooden coaster, but still manages to stand out on its own. The ride has a somewhat simple layout, but has a couple surprise pops of airtime scattered throughout. The ride stats aren't really exactly impressive when compared to the Beast, but still respectable when compared to most roller coasters of its era. 1990 to 1999. Twister. Opened in 1999, located at Knoebels in Elysburg, Pennsylvania. What to say about Twister? I've always really loved this wooden roller coaster. In fact, sometimes I will actually prefer Twister over Phoenix. Instead of featuring lots of airtime, this roller coaster features lots of laterals. Its tight, compact layout provides some nice laterals and of course a lot of head choppers. I've always had a soft spot for Twister because it was kind of like the biggest roller coaster that I ever ridden back in its time. This roller coaster was like a gateway to other bigger and more exciting attractions. 2000 to 2009. El Toro. Opened in 2006, located at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. This had to be the toughest decade in picking a coaster. Not because I wasn't sure El Toro would make the cut. No, I knew El Toro was going to be my choice, but I was sad how many great wooden coasters wouldn't make the list. The new millennium brought on a new resurgence of wooden roller coasters, some to be considered the best roller coasters on the planet like Voyage, Ravine Flyer 2, and Thunderhead. Well, only one was allowed to remain, and that had to be El Toro. If you've been a coaster enthusiast longer than a hot second, you already know how amazing the airtime is on this roller coaster. Intamin took the wooden coaster into the new millennium by creating their prefabricated wooden coaster. This means that everything was precision cut in a factory so the ride can be assembled together on site with near perfect results, giving a glossy, smooth finish. The ride has developed some rough patches here or there, but still a smooth coaster that delivers one of the best first drops on any wooden coaster. 2010 to 2019. Mystic Timbers, opened in 2017, located at Kings Island in Mason, Ohio. The quality of wooden roller coasters has only continued to improve into our final decade. Mystic Timbers is what I think is the highlight from the entire decade. The ride follows a somewhat unorthodox layout for Great Coasters International. Instead of a spaghetti bowl of track, this roller coaster is an out-and-back layout loaded with airtime. From sustained floater to quick pops of ejector, Mystic Timbers has it all. The ride is also remarkably smooth. You'd almost think that it's a prefabricated Woody like El Toro. Well, here we are in 2020, and there's really only been one major wooden roller coaster to open, and that's Texas Stingray. I haven't had the opportunity to check this ride out yet, but it looks like fun, almost like a larger version of Invader at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg. That concludes my favorite wooden roller coasters throughout the decades. Stay tuned as next week I will be discussing my favorite steel coasters throughout the decades. Let me know what are your favorite wooden coasters from each decade in the comments below. As always, please subscribe so you don't miss out on more great content coming your way by Xtreme Thrills.